All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the last session of biological aging. It's hard to believe that we are already on week 4. The time has gone so fast, Dr. Chuckalingham, and we're sad to see you go. So hopefully you'll come back and teach for us again, another class. They're always so interesting. We appreciate your time. We really do. We know you're a very busy man, and we feel like I told you in my email this morning, your classes truly are life-changing, and so we really appreciate that you're willing to spend this time with us and help teach us how to have better lives. So anyway, with that, just as a quick reminder, you guys can unmute yourselves, raise your hands. Dr. Chuckalingham will answer your questions. Feel free to put any questions or comments in chat. And that's really about it, right, Dr. Chuckalingham?
Excellent. Thanks so much, Heidi, for giving me this opportunity. Good morning, friends in the US. Good evening to friends in India. It's a pleasure to connect with you for the first series on biological aging. Today is our last of the 4-week series, and I should say I've been doing this now for close to 10 years on Zoom since the pandemic. But the reality is, this is probably the best session ever. So if you missed any of the prior ones, you're perfectly fine. The reason is a lot of knowledge that we accumulated over the years adds up to what we are discussing. But more than that, I found the enthusiasm in this group was particularly so amazing that I really will miss you all once this series is done. But I'm so glad, Heidi, for the next opportunity you give me, I'll come back. We'll do one of these series with pleasure. This is my best part of the week, connecting with you all. So we can open it up now for a open discussion on anything for the next few minutes. And then I always have some slides to show. And then we'll still have plenty of time to come back to things.
Dr. Chuckalingham, you and I were talking before class opened up, because I'm helping Heidi with the co-host this morning, but you asked about the weekend, and I mentioned I was thinking about smiling, and I do smile a lot, but this weekend I was with friends and I was thinking, oh my goodness, I have smiled and laughed way more than 20 times a day. So I have just gotten so much younger over this past weekend. So it's something I never had thought about before. So thank you for mentioning that in the class. And thank you again for teaching this class. We know how busy you are, and we really, really appreciate your time, especially on behalf of the OSHA Advisory Council.
Can we all come up on screen if your videos are turned off? If you don't mind, you can all come up, because we need to give a big hand for Leona.
Dr. Chuckalingham, I'd like to say that to all the rest of you, I know I've been mentioned quite a bit in this class, but the reason is that for 15 years, at least, I had such shortness of breath that I was practically immobile. I couldn't walk a block. I couldn't walk up a little short incline. And I went to at least 8 specialists, all of whom could not find out what was wrong with me. People would stop me in stores and say, "Are you all right?" I got so used to it, my heavy breathing, that I didn't even recognize it. And it wasn't until Dr. Chuckalingham told me that it was stiff heart and that I could reverse it, that I even knew what it was. I kept saying, "I think it's my heart." And they would check it and say, "No, it's not your heart. We don't know what it is." So that's why it's been such a wonderful thing for me to be able to walk, to be able to go to the mailbox, to be able to feed the birds and do housework. And I just didn't want you to think it was just a small transition of losing some weight. It's life-changing. And thank you, Dr. Chuckalingham. And I'll try
Amazing,
not,
Carolyn.
huh?
Amazing, because when you asked me in the last Osher series, I'm 80, will your system work for me? I really wasn't too sure because we have not been able to have this much success. So I can't take all the credit. You are such an amazingly motivated person, and you have shown a new path to so many people struggling with stiff hearts. And that's such a huge challenge. It's more than 55% of all heart failure. It's not a small number. Majority of heart failure is the stiff heart throughout the world now. So what you're showing is giving hope to millions of people, literally. Thanks so much. I just can't thank you enough, really. Any other Osher friends who have comments about the last 3 weeks, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you would like us to do better if we meet again in fall?
iPhone, did you have something you needed to say? You're unmuted, so I didn't know if you wanted to say something. Whoever says iPhone. Maybe not. Okay.
When Leona was saying this weekend she was smiling and that made her feel more energetic and young, that is actually the core of our Heartful Living programs, to find that inner energy, to use that inner energy towards optimism. It may seem for some people very challenging. For some people, it may seem so trivial. Why? I mean, it's up to us. Anytime we can just smile. But the reality is the conscious mind, our reasoning, our logic comes in the way. That is the problem, because that is meant to protect us from adversities. And just smiling and taking things casually may seem counterintuitive to our survival. So the logical mind is actually the barrier that limits us from just celebrating the moment. But when we make it a habit, and when we use our mindfulness methods, and we now use hunger, being a little more hungry every day towards that. So we have put a lot of little things together in such a way that I believe that many people in their routine life, without taking time off from their busy work, they can still practice this mindfulness. Earlier in 2010 to 2015, 2016 timeframe, we were emphasizing meditation for about 20 minutes every day, at least 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. Now, we don't spend that much time in meditation or focus on asking people to practice formal sitting down meditation. But when you are active, doing things with that optimism, and when you connect with being a little more hungry, that itself, I believe, is living meditation. It's not like sitting down meditation. It's activity-based mindfulness. So that's what I really believe Leona was able to do over the weekend. And so many people, including Marilyn, her weight reduction, she points out, is one aspect of the optimism that she's gaining. The other aspect that is sometimes hard to measure is that positivity, that belief that, yes, I'm on the right track, and that might be subjective. Some people in science call it placebo effect. We will take it. We want all that benefit to help us move forward in our life. Why not? Placebo is not a problem. It's only for the scientific studies that placebo looks like, oh, it's confounding our research. But in reality, if the suggestion gives us confidence, we will take it 110% all the time.
And Dr. Chakalingam, we've got a chat in there.
Can you talk about the importance of flexible, regular gut health and movement for aging, and how does sleep affect longevity? This is all excellent questions. I'm not sure about the flexible aspect, but for gut health, there are 1,000 different things that are being recommended. And as a evidence-based cardiologist, particularly, I don't have much expertise in recommending certain gut cleansing therapies, this and that. I just don't have the expertise. But people who do functional medicine, holistic integrative medicine, there are a lot of people are doing this. And even in the evidence-based gastroenterologists who practice in universities, they are talking about how to regenerate the gut microbiome through taking some pills or changing their habits in different ways. There are some gut transformation, biotransformation. So many things are available. But what I genuinely feel really helps our gut is two things. In the gut itself, the first thing is what we eat. If we eat more natural, plant-based, whole foods, we are really helping our gut. That's the first thing. Second thing is a little bit of not eating anything, say for 18 hours, 24 or up to 36 hours once a week. That itself allows the gut so much opportunity to reset itself. So plant-based food and intermittent fasting are, I believe, so powerful. Third thing that obviously is making sense is to cut back on antibiotics and unhealthy processed foods and empty sugars, that sort of thing. So with these three holistic interventions, I believe we can improve our gut health to a significant extent. Beyond that, what extra benefits we can get with other things, I don't have the expertise to go further. How does movement help avoid or postpone aging? Movement is a beautiful word. Exercise is something that we connect with. Sports, we are able to help cardiac patients who go through cardiac rehab connect with that. Any movement is so useful. So if people are moving naturally, just walking on a regular basis to work or doing their chores or in their community, that is better at any age. Exercise is great. Fitness training, weight training, especially above the age of 40, is an excellent way to retain our muscle strength and bone strength. And this reduces frailty. It builds a balance and confidence that we can move through our day. So this is not just heart level fitness, it's entire musculoskeletal fitness and confidence in our day-to-day abilities to carry on our activities, and that directly reverses aging. So pay attention to your activity, talk to a physical therapist or a gym exercise therapist to understand where you are and what you can safely move towards better health. All of us can gain from this throughout our life. Even children can learn this. And my kids, they went through in Columbia, Missouri, training because my son played national level tennis. My daughter is into swimming. So even for children, it works. For adults, it definitely does. As we grow older, it becomes even more important. So throughout life, the movement is going to keep us from physically aging. And the last question about sleep, it's probably more important than everything else that we've been talking about. We need 7 to 8 hours of rest every night. And if the quality matters, the quantity matters. And if we can get good amount of sleep, we are resetting our biological clock every day. So please make the time and the proper habits that will allow us to get into good quality sleep every day. That's going to really help biological aging, your heart, your lungs, the autonomic balance. It's so important, and sleep restores all of this. Very important. Any other discussion points?
Well, and the longer we sleep, the more time we have between eating our last meal and our first meal. And that hunger issue really, really makes a difference. I hope all of you have tried to, when you first feel hungry, to wait half an hour, as long as you can. It's getting harder for me because of the change in the weather. I find that when the house is cold, I want to eat all the time. But so I backslid a little. But I know from experience how good it is to be hungry.
What you say is very true, Marilyn. In colder temperatures, our body needs extra food to keep up our temperature. So winter weather, people are generally more hungry. But what we are saying is being hungry itself is healthy. So we want to accept it and then try to see how we can continue to move forward with the hunger. I don't think most physicians talk about being hungry. They say you can overcome hunger by doing this trick, that trick. And then after one day of not eating, the second day becomes easier. There are some people who fast for 3 days, 5 days, 10 days with just water. And they say the first day is the hardest. What Marilyn just told us is she is experiencing the hardest the first day on most days of the week. And she is smiling more because of it. So that is the meditation. And we are not in a race with anybody. We are doing it to be connected with ourselves and with our world, our natural world, our communities. And I cannot think of a more direct way than through gratitude and with being a little hungry on more days of the week that we are able to. Last week, I had a viral infection. I had caught it from my 12-year-old who gets it from her middle school. And I was feeling a little under the weather. So it is hard for me to separate my not feeling well and my hunger. Because when we are not feeling well, we want some more food to feel that confidence. And then I reminded myself, Anand, you ate okay. You don't need more food. You're just sick. You have to wait a couple more days. Your sickness will get better. So when we are not feeling well physically or emotionally, when we are stressed about some unexpected things in our emotional sphere, when we are disappointed with a friend or a near and dear one is sick in the hospital and we are worried, then we are craving more food, because food is an area of comfort. When we eat, for millions of years, that has given us the cue that we are in a safe spot. So food can give us safety from physical and mental challenges. But we are saying if we can embrace that hunger safely, it's even more of a friend once we become comfortable with it. Excellent. There is one more question. I understand that in general, these are excellent principles, but don't different people, for example, need different amounts of sleep? Yes, that is also true. Children need 10, 11 hours of sleep. Adolescents, 8 or 9 hours at least. By adulthood, 7 or 8 hours. For most people, there are some people who get away with only 4 or 5 hours of sleep, some even lesser. But by and large, when we present to an audience, that's the general audience, we say 7 to 8 hours, make attempt to sleep. And if you sleep only 6 hours at night and you want to doze in the afternoon, there are a lot of studies saying a good nap for 20 to 40 minutes in the afternoon is so refreshing. So if your schedule allows that, that's a good thing. So when you're refreshed, that is what matters. But if you can commit to 7 hours, that's by and large a good number to commit to. Okay? Anybody else? Any quick thoughts before we go on to some slides? We've not heard from many people so far, so this is a good time to share your thoughts.
I was going to ask, first of all, good morning. I was going to ask, with getting the 2 to 3 hours of sleep, because that's where I fall into, is it still very hard for the body to heal itself from whatever it is and to regenerate itself during the day? I mean, I have a lot of swelling, and getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep really doesn't help, because I take my weight for telehealth every morning, and I'm fluctuating up 2 pounds, down 6 pounds, and I'm up 7 pounds, and I'm down 3 pounds. It just, and again, I know the 2 to 3 hours may not be helping. So what do I do?
So how many years have you had this trouble where you are only getting on average 2 to 3 hours? That's it for several days on end?
Yes. Since I retired from the Army. So we're looking at 2016.
So for the last 6 years, you've been averaging less than 3 hours of sleep every night.
Yes, just about. Whenever the only time I get more than 3 to 4 hours is when I'm not feeling well. If I'm sick or I've been to the hospital for whatever.
So at home, what happens? After 3 hours, you just wake up and you just can't catch any more sleep?
I just wake up, or if I'm in pain, I get up and I try to do what I can to alleviate the pain or ease the pain. But other than that, once I get up, I'm up. I can't go back to sleep.
So this is, thanks for bringing this challenge to our group, Roderick. The reality is it's like the chicken or the egg, which came first. We can keep on debating this. But the truth is your sleep or lack of sleep is adding a lot of sympathetic stress to your body. And that stress is manifesting as trouble with the heart, trouble with the kidneys, trouble with inflammation, trouble with arthritis. And that trouble is making your sleep even lesser. So it's a positive feedback cycle that we have to break somewhere. And we need to get you to feel rested in the morning. That's going to take some more time, but I'm so glad in the last month or two, you recognize the value of your role in this, because so far, I would say for the last 10 years, you've been taking more pills because so many specialists are involved in your care.
Yes.
And the pills are needed right now, but we have so many people after 3 months, 6 months in our program, they go to their own specialists and are able to cut back significantly on their medicines. So we are talking about hopefully reducing 95% of all your medicines. When that happens, your sleep will be, you will come back and tell me, Doc, I'm able to sleep 5 hours. I'm able to sleep 6 hours. And I feel much more rested with less CPAP and other therapies needed for the sleep itself. So all this is part of the package. And that package, you are embracing it more wholeheartedly than most people that I can credit for. So I really believe you're on the right track, Roderick. Does it make sense? It's not one particular fix that I'm going to suggest for you. Continue in this path of smiling and eating right and trying to come off from the water pills. You are on 5 water pills, if I counted right. Now you're only half a water pill.
Yes.
From 5, it is like already for the water pills, it's like 90% reduction.
Right.
So that is a huge step forward in the last couple of months. And in the next 3 months, I feel you will be in a much, much better shape than you are in October of 2022.
Yes, thank you.
And sleep is going to be something that we want to gradually gain it. It's not something we can force on our body. That's the thing. It'll have to happen naturally. Sleep is a meditation. It has to happen. We cannot enforce the sleep, and it will happen, hopefully.
I find
Okay?
myself being tired. I find myself being very, very tired during the day.
Yes.
And then I want to nap around, I guess about 1400. However, even when I lay down to nap and I tell my wife I'm not really feeling well and I'm just going to lay down, take a nap, I lay in the bed and I just can't go to sleep no matter what I do. And then my everything's going and I'm thinking about everything. And the next thing I know, it's 1800 and she's home. Now it's time to eat. I've cut everything down to 1 meal a day. I'm drinking water and I'm eating my bananas and green, whatever I can eat that's green. But other than that, I'm doing 1 meal a day, and it just seems as though I can't get enough rest. So I'm gonna continue to do what.
I'm so glad you shared this here, Roderick. But the important thing is, compared to before you met me a month ago, what percentage food are you consuming now? Overall, in an average day, compared to before you met me, how much percentage are you consuming?
I'm consuming on a 100% scale. I think I'm down to about 25, maybe 30%. And the reason I'm saying that is because I was eating 4 or 5 small meals a day. You know how they get that in our head, eat so much a day and then it keeps your metabolism up, so forth and so on. And it didn't work for me. Uh, and I know that the reason I'm in the shape that I'm in is just what you said, Doc, is the medication. Because the whole time in the Army and when I was a kid, I was 178 pounds soaking wet, 35 waist, 42 chest, the whole nine. However, once I started taking these pills and they started me with steroids, I was on that for a whole year because my back was broken. But once I started with these pills and they kept adding pills and they kept adding pills and they kept adding, my body just got tired and the weight came on. So
I'm so glad that we got to work with you, Roderick. The next 3 months, we'll come back to Osher and share your success. I'm so confident because you're energetic and you are a nurse yourself. So you can understand the science behind what we are trying to accomplish. And if I give you 10 things to do, you're doing 11. You're doing everything I can ask of you. So I'm so proud. I cannot be more proud of you. Thanks so much for doing what you're doing, Roderick.
And Dr. Chakalingam, we've got Marcia Lake, who's had her hand up a while, and there's a couple more items in the chat.
Marsha?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, how do you coordinate medications with fasting? If you take medications that require that you do it while eating or right after eating, how do you coordinate that with fasting?
It's not that easy for some people. Sometimes it's okay to take medicines on an empty stomach, but otherwise I say if you like coffee, that's okay. A banana is fine. Something like that you can take and then take your morning medicines. A lot of times when people are fasting, they may skip many of their medicines too that day. And they find that the skipping actually helps them. So that's the cycle that we want people to embrace, like pain medicines and arthritis pills and some of the diabetes medicines. It's okay to not take them when you're fasting. There are people fasting for 3 days, 7 days, 10 days. We are only requesting up to 18 hours to 24 hours. Beyond that, we don't request. So in that, Roderick, you just met him. He is on what? Altogether like 50 medicines, Roderick, right? So that's where he started, but he is now down to 1 meal a day and he's still on numerous of those medicines. So we're going to continue to work with him and I'm going to let him work with his specialists because I want them to also feel confident he doesn't need this many medicines. So it has, because we don't want to just take him off and then them feeling that he needs it back. So we don't want it to be back and forth. We want it to be a positive reinforcement that he gets from his providers that he trusts. But it can be a little challenging for some people, but that's a very important thing. We might be able to use some minor things like a banana or coffee sometimes, and sometimes skip the medicines and see how things go. Excellent. Any other questions we can answer?
Yeah.
How is one able to balance fasting when social activities require eating? Yes, that's sometimes challenge. So my suggestion is go to the social event, celebrate the food, celebrate the company. And then the next day, if you don't have a social commitment, then use that opportunity to eat little lesser. That's all, is the balance. And if some people's life is busy that they have too many social occasions, that becomes even more of a challenge. At home, it's easier to cook more healthy plant-based options. But again, my request to you might be to cut the portion down to a very comfortable level so that even at the end of the feasting and the partying, you come home a little hungry. Then you're in good shape. Okay. Marilyn is saying, I usually take a spoonful of peanut butter with my medicines. Excellent. That's a suggestion. See, she has found ways. Thanks for sharing that, Marilyn. So shall we go to the slides? Okay. Very good. Hello, friends. Today is our 4th session on what is high life? How does heartful living reverse biological aging? My disclosures are the website High Life Journey, where you can find all these discussions. Seeking Hunger is a 30-page book to help people connect with themselves mindfully. So we started out discussing the difference between chronological and biological aging. Then we discussed mindfulness and a little bit of meditation. Last week, we discussed how flow and exercise and movement and sports can help us connect at a very deep level with our true inner happy nature. Today, we put all of this together and try to come to an understanding of how our holistic integrative ways of living called high life can actually help us stop the clock and oftentimes reverse the clock, the biological aging clock. This we discussed last week. Our health half the time is determined by our social challenges, our quality of education that we come up with, economic stability, the community, our family, our friends, our support system, our neighborhood and our environment, and then our healthcare system. The healthcare system only contributes overall to about 20% of our health. So here we are seeing among people who die prematurely, half of them are doing it, losing their life because of their habits, behavior. Genetic predisposition contributes to a third. our social circumstances, environmental challenges, and the healthcare system itself, all the latest medicines, technologies can only influence 10% of life that is lost prematurely. So we have to recognize the role of the bigger picture in helping our health. This is a look at how greenhouse gases are produced per kilogram of food that is created. The maximum carbon footprint comes from red meat, beef and prawns and cheese, compared to eggs and rice and milk. And when we go down to more plant-based foods, it's less than 1. So we are at a very good ratio as far as stress on the environment to create the food that we need to survive. This is another way of looking at it. We have to eat more and more of foods to stay healthy. Which foods? Plant-based foods. And as far as environmental impact, we want to minimize the impact. We want to go towards the right side. Because when we look at certain foods like beef and lamb and even chocolate and cheese, they have more water requirement and resource requirement to create the food that finally arrives at our table. Lesser impact would be chicken and fish. But even in the fish, they are saying wild caught fish has lower environmental impact than farmed fish. And same thing, when we look at all the green leafy vegetables, mushrooms, multigrain bread, these are all very, very low impact for the environment, and they are so healthy for us also. So we want to remind our friends that any emotional eating is not good. We want to recognize it's just an emotion and try not to feed it. Habitual eating, I did for 45 years. My parents are both doctors, and I was a cardiologist for a long time. I didn't know any better until 2018. I thought morning, afternoon, night, I needed 3 meals. Otherwise, I cannot survive. But then I started exploring physical hunger, and my life has only gotten so much better because of that. In the sense, I used to play singles tennis 2 or 3 times a week, and that would be hard on my body. I would get some pills for plantar fasciitis, leg pains, this and that. But I'm talking about my age of 25, 35, 40. But now I'm closer to 50, and I'm able to play 5, 6 days of the week. If I go and play tennis the 7th day, my wife says, Anand, stay home. We need you to do some chores around the house. So I'm just kidding. The reality is lesser inflammation and ability to do better with less food in my body. And the cue for me is not the clock telling me it's time to eat. It's physically when I'm hungry. Make sense? And this doesn't leave us feeling guilty about anything that we eat, wherever we are socializing. If it's a lot of times meat or ice cream, that's also fine. If it's cookies, donuts, things that are sugar added, that's also okay. Because when we are physically hungry, any food, the body is able to use it more effectively, more intelligently. But when we are giving more food than the body needs, that's when it becomes so challenging for it to cope with it. Okay. So we request people to eat for less than 10 hours in a day. Most people can do this. We met so many people already in these last 4 weeks who are doing more than 14, 16 hours of fasting every night. But that is something that is really allowing the body to reset itself and reduce our excess weight, blood pressure, cholesterol, our diabetes risk, and our sleep also improves directly. So all these things are the benefits of not putting in any food for 14 hours every night. Then we want to remember what are the foods to put in when we are eating. To reduce cholesterol and to reduce inflammation, we need to really focus on things that are tasty. Unfortunately, cookies, donuts, ice cream, they're all refined sugars. On top of that, processed meat, organ meat, and red meat, we want to watch out for. And then all the sweetened beverages, anything that adds sugar. Apple or orange is fine, whereas the juices, they are sugar added a lot of times. So we have to be careful about energy drinks, sodas, and even the diet sodas, because they have different forms of sugars in them that we don't have the time to get into. But the best and the safest drink in the entire world ends up being water. It has 0 calories. It's so nutritive, or I shouldn't say nutritive, it is so revitalizing for us. And especially when we are trying to limit the number of hours of eating and we are trying to gain the anti-inflammatory benefits and weight loss, water becomes so essential. Okay. And then what are the healthy foods that the body likes? All the vegetables in the world. Keep exploring till you find vegetables that you like and the way you can cook them in your own culture that makes it fun for you. And then fruits that you cut with a knife and eat. There are some cardiologists saying fruits are not good, some dietitians, endocrinologists who will tell you that. But the reality is when you cut with a knife and eat the actual fruit, you're much, much, much better off than processed foods. Okay? So we need the fruits, especially for the micronutrients that you get from them. Whole grain, multigrain bread, brown rice, quinoa, that's excellent compared to white rice or white bread. And then a little bit of tea, coffee is okay. 20 years ago, when I finished medical school, we were saying wine is good. Now, more and more data suggests any amount of alcohol we want to avoid if we can, but 1 or 2 drinks may be okay on occasion. So this is the gist of the Heartful Living program that we've developed over the last 10 years. So now I'll ask you to close your eyes for 1 quick second. Connect with something over the last 2-3 days, this weekend, that you are so grateful for, that you experienced. Yes, this was nice in my life. So I'll keep quiet for a second. Think about it, feel that, and then experience a little warmth in your heart. That is the meditation we will do today. For the gratitude that happened, the event or the person you met in the last 2-3 days. Okay, that is self-inquiry. Connecting with ourselves via gratitude. That allows us to smile 20 times every waking hour. And that reduces our stress, builds our optimism. All this happens inside. On the outside, we want to use that self-inquiry towards connecting with our body. How do we connect with our body? Through being a little more hungry, like Marilyn does at the age of 80 for the last 4 months. And she's telling us that it's okay to be a little more hungry every day. Half an hour, she said, 1 hour she's doing. Like that, we all want to be a little hungry every day out of gratitude. Okay? That itself is a prayer. We call it flow. That makes us understand our body at a deeper level. That drops our blood pressure and our stress hormones and sympathetic overactivation. It controls that and makes the parasympathetic tone go up significantly. And this all happens within minutes of being a little hungry and smiling. And when we do this again and again, even at the age of 80, we can reverse heart failure. That's the message Marilyn gives us. And our heart is going to thank us. And how does the heart thank us? By beating comfortably and energizing us for 100 years of health and wellness. So this is the entire gist of what we would like you to embrace. So when we are a little more hungry, as long as we are smiling, relaxed with gratitude and drinking water sufficiently, we are able to engage natural ketosis. We've done this for millions and millions of years, probably close to 70 or 100 million years. So it's not something new to us, except if we are women who are pregnant or with advanced liver failure or advanced diabetes, who are at high risk for hypoglycemia. Most other people, they can embrace this on their own a little bit every day. So we taught intermittent fasting where the benefits are numerous for the body, but when we combine it with the self-inquiry and the meditative hunger gratitude experience, which means when we are hungry, we are also smiling. We are optimistic. We are doing our day-to-day thing, but we are doing it out of gratitude. When that is there, within weeks, many people find their creativity goes up. They are sleeping better. Their mood is better. Resilience, happiness, compassion, their connection with people around them, optimism and confidence are also going up exponentially. So then people are able to further embrace the fasting. If they need to lose weight, people are able to give up one meal. Here they are able to give up 2 meals in a day. We've met people today who are telling us in this meeting that they are able to give up 2 meals and they're down to just 1 meal a day for months. We have people doing it for years. And we can live 100 years when we embrace these methods, but when we do the smiling gratitude along with it, then we will become more alive in the moment, along with living 100 years. This is the biggest institute, I think, in the world that does research on biological aging. I think they have more than 100 scientists looking into the genes and how to improve the longevity of a human being. And this is in California, called Buck Institute. They invited me and I had discussions with them. But are they the pioneers in reversing aging? They are in one aspect, the genetics, gene aspect, they are. But reversing aging is going to require more than the gene. I'm going to tell you why. There are so many numerous systems throughout the world where holistic integrative medicine has been learned and practiced by communities over thousands of years. Siddha does not even feature here, but it is probably the oldest because it is 5,000 years of written literature we have on Siddha principles, and it is from my part of the world. So I know of people who practice it and they come to our sessions and I collaborate and research with them. And still people go to formal medical school and train in Siddha medicine and practice it. Significant amount of it, 70% of Siddha is the consciousness. I feel that is where we can really reverse aging in healthy people. That is where we bring the mind into the picture. And the pills and the genes that Buck Institute is working can address 25% of the challenge. But still 75% of reversing aging is coming back to the food that we eat, our inner consciousness, and our genuine, compassionate connection with our own community. That is where our health actually resides. So that consciousness is subjective awareness of the mind, of itself and the world around it. Consciousness emerges from the operations of the mind. So this is where we believe we've done amazing work in the last 10 years. My actual training is in Western medicine and cardiology. So I'm able to improve heart health and lifespan. But when we embrace holistic medical practices, which are integrative, safe, complementary, we are able to improve health span. And when we embrace sports and martial arts and classical Bharatanatyam and other art forms that people take 20 years to master, so they have to essentially start in childhood, then we are connecting with creativity on a genuine, intrinsic, intuitive way. The Siddha system also really emphasizes mindfulness practice. What Buddha did, sitting under the Bodhi tree for years to understand who he was, that is a type of self-inquiry. So that Buddha himself is only 2,000 years ago. This tradition has been there for at least 5,000 years or even longer, where people connect with themselves directly towards higher consciousness and bliss. Yoga gets a lot of these benefits. And when we practice just the self-inquiry aspect of it, we are able to use it even in the hospitalized setting. People with trouble breathing, because their heart has failed, their lungs are failing, their kidneys are not working, they are in the hospital getting their best medical therapies. We believe we can add more value to those patients, help them recover faster, and avoid their next hospitalization. These data we are publishing now. Obviously, we have so many people who have also moved towards higher consciousness in our program over the last 7 years. I met one of my patients who had a heart attack in 2017, before we started the hunger gratitude system that started in 2018. He came to me last week and said, "Doc, I'm now 69. I've been with you now 7 years. I'm feeling like only 35. I asked him, "How is it that you're now feeling like 35 and you're only continuing to get younger?" He said, "I'm practicing for 20 minutes meditation." This is what you said is needed in 2017. I haven't given that up. That 20 minutes is the best 20 minutes of my day. And that just makes me feel so energized for the whole day. So I'm just sharing that message with you because I'm the one who taught him that, and I don't do it for 20 minutes. I practice a little bit of hunger gratitude every day. But because I met my patient who's benefiting from that, I told him, I'm going to spend 20 minutes again. So it's still part of my self-inquiry. We are all human. We all move away from our inner core. And when my friend and patient reminded me, I said, this is the commitment I have to make for myself. So I'm going to commit to 20 minutes as of last Thursday. That's when I met him. So this is again summarizing everything that we do in the Heartful Living program. We request 14 hours of no food going into the body out of gratitude. And then once a week, if you don't have any other health issues like kidney or pancreas or liver issues, you can go to 24 hours. And then the exercise, we've talked about this flow experience, exercise awareness and smile, how to use exercise towards being more mindful. The simplest clues for that is think you're only half your weight. That suggestion is important when you're pushing a physical limit. Try new things that you feel are safe but are new to you. Different types of exercise, different types of sports that your body will allow you to safely embrace. And that is the journey. The next thing is self-talk and silence. The silence we practiced a little bit in the last few sessions. And this I cannot emphasize enough. 5 minutes of being with yourself silently, sitting in a chair in a corner of the room, and then going through the rest of your day is amazing. If you can give 20 minutes of your time, that's perfect. You don't need to practice any mantra or any specific thing. Just focus on your breathing, sit back, relaxed in your chair, and then let the body and your mind relax. Some people notice that too many thoughts keep coming back, and that's the nature of mind. So don't worry about it. Gently try to bring your attention back to the breathing. That's all we request. Okay? We will spend some more time today on the last altruism, compassion experience. 70, we call it. And the A70 is directly helping people gain confidence with their health and wellness, trust in their community. Actually, it helps savings, and social determinants of health also are reinforced with the system. Why do I say this? I want you to recognize India, where I come from, currently in 2019, spends a lot of money on obesity. It spends $23 billion, which is a lot of money. But in the next 40 years, it's going to spend 20 times more, nearly $500 billion just to deal with obesity. The reality is in India, there are so many people without enough food who are wasted, thin, and malnourished. Then how come obesity is already a big challenge in India? So this is the reality the world is facing, the economic transition where people are becoming more affluent. Throughout the world, they are seeking more unhealthy things, unfortunately. Unhealthy in the form of red meat or processed meat, and then empty sugars in the form of sodas and fast food. So that is the trend for the entire world. So that trend is going to cost India in the next 40 years so much more money that it's going to affect the vitality of the nation. So this is the double burden of both malnutrition and obesity. It is faced in the US, but it's going to become so much more of a deal for the rest of the world also moving forward. So what I want to leave you with is this thought of the food bank as a way of connecting so many resources from the farm to the restaurants and marketplaces where there is food surplus on a daily basis. And the food bank is able to utilize that with their advanced network of human beings and technologies and resources. They're able to get that food to the people who need it in the community. And this is what the food bank does. And this is not just in the US. They have now spread throughout the world. And their resources are local. And at the same time, they have global knowledge that they are able to impart to this. So at the end of the day, what it translates is, in very simple terms, every dollar translates into 14 meals. That is the amazing transformation. In the US, if we are able to donate $1 cash, that becomes 14 meals. This is amazing. So if we compare what happens in our day-to-day living. At the restaurant, if we choose to have a meal, it costs us about $20. If we take a meal kit, it's $12. And if we just cook at home, then we are spending only a fifth of that, only $4 for a meal. And then this is what is happening in the US. We are having meals plus snacks altogether about 35 times we are eating in a week. If we have 3 meals a day, it'll come to 21, but we are having more. We are having 5 meals most often. That's why it comes to 35. So if we commit to only 16 meals a week, I think that's an excellent thing for our own health. For most healthy people, for people who want to lose weight and get healthy, 16 meals is something that's doable for most of us. So if we do that, from 21, we are saving 5 meals. So that even if it is home cooked meals, it's $20 of savings. And per year, that adds up to $1,000. So even if we give half of that to the food bank, we are considering at 14 meals, philanthropic, we want to build that. So that's something that I'm exploring for the last couple of years. If businesses in the community will support us. If we get that, then there is no limit to how much food we can get. But the reality is, even if we contribute this much money, we are giving directly $7,000, or even if we do just this $500 contribution per year, that will translate into so many meals to the community. So this is the direct benefit of the hunger gratitude that we are practicing. And in the last 5 years, so many of our cardiac patients have worked with their own local food banks or their church or whatever community organization that they feel that they can contribute towards. And that is the altruism compassion experience. We want to take this to children. We wrote a grant to the NIH. It wasn't funded last year. We said for 70 days, we'll get school children to do an act of kindness. School children, we are not asking them to fast. We say for 1 or 2 minutes in the COVID world, find ways to make someone else smile. Preferably, they shouldn't even know who is the person doing that act of kindness for them. So if children can do this in 3 months for 70 times, we did the math and it came back saying children will build trust in their community, confidence in themselves that they are productive members of their society. And that is more important than anything else we can teach our children when in their adolescence. So that's why we wrote a grant like that for them. So I'm just sharing these concepts with you for you to embrace for yourself and for your own families, your children and grandchildren at any and every level possible. So how does it translate? This actually we wrote for people in the hospital to recognize what they need to do in the hospital when they're having trouble breathing. So first find something you're grateful for. Because you're having trouble breathing, you're getting 18 medicines and 6 doctors coming and taking care of you. So many things happening in the hospital. Even there, find something you're connected with. Try to smile 20 times every hour. Try to avoid eating in the hospital. If you're also dealing with excess weight issues for 14 hours or something around that, avoid all snacks. Limit the coffee intake. Recognize that being hungry is a sign of health. And drink more water. These are so simple and basic that you can do it even if you are in the hospital. 6 more simple tips. When the food is ready and nearby, that itself is a relaxing thing. We don't have to put it in the mouth to feel more relaxed. Fasting is empowering. We are not starving anybody. If you are really hungry and you need the food, go ahead and have it. No worries. If you are diabetic, tell your doctors you're going to limit your food intake. Try to walk a lot. Even in the hospital, if your body allows it, walking is a good thing. We need to check blood pressure standing up to understand what's going on and discuss this with your doctor so that they are also on board with what you're trying to do towards regaining your health. So the hunger gratitude, the flow, the exercise awareness smile, self-talk and silence, and the altruism compassion that we discussed, all of this put together we call high life that improves your autonomic balance, endothelial function, biological aging. Transference means even if there are challenges with walking, if you don't have one leg, you can still do arm-based exercises. Even though the upper extremities have only a third of the muscles that we have in the legs, that benefit definitely reaches your heart and your lungs and your entire body. So that's what is called transference, and we use our methods to help improve collateral circulation. We can put 3 or 4 stents in the heart. We can do 5 bypass surgeries when we open the chest, but nature can do 5,000 bypass surgeries, collaterals when they develop in the heart. They can ensure our longevity. And our simple holistic methods are helping people develop those collaterals and improve their heart function. We talked about Ikigai, I think, a little bit, which is the reason for waking up in the morning, the meaning in life itself. So that is the real reason for our happiness, which we can increase our dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. These are the chemicals that make us genuinely feel fulfilled and thereby build the resilience to cope with the COVID challenges. And in 2025, whatever other environmental challenge that our world has to face, we want to be as resilient as we can be towards the future. So if you look at healthcare systems, we are not geared towards addressing social determinants. We are only geared towards addressing acute illness. Lifestyle is only now emerging as an important aspect of healthcare, and mental health is looked at separately from the medical issues. Whereas in high life, we are addressing social issues. We are sustainably, intuitively changing lifestyle, which is the foundation of what we are doing. And mind-body methods are more integrative, and mind is part and parcel of everything that we are trying to accomplish. We are not just managing chronic diseases. We actually work towards reversing a lot of the chronic ailments that people are facing in this day and age. Evidence-based can be self-misleading. In the last 20 years, there are so many scientific publications on obesity paradox, metabolically healthy obesity, insulin resistance. I believe when we practice integrative medicine, we are able to look beyond these challenges and look at a bigger span of biological aging data that's coming, which is extremely strong, and animal studies on resilience building. That's such an amazing amount of data on that. And we are able to use these things towards building the needed novel programs to help our society not only recover, but also thrive and flourish. So we need NIH-funded specific trials for new drugs and new procedures, not for the holistic interventions that we are building. And these tend to be more expensive, and complications are generally involved in any advanced procedures, whereas our methods are low risk and complementary. They don't carry much risk at all, and providers impart the knowledge and technical skills that they've learned. Here, they are also using their experience and personal insight. That makes it so much more powerful in our program. And patients dependent on us for their care. Here, patients are empowered from the get-go, and they regain the confidence to regain much of their health on their own. 80% of any individual health is in the individual's hands. Only 20% we as doctors and procedures and pills and technology we can add. Placebo effect is a challenge for scientific studies, but for holistic recovery and health, it is part of the suggestion and positive psychology that is the core of what we are trying to use towards health. Western medicine trains and certifies doctors, nurses, and healthcare workers. Whereas in our High Life program, we want to certify people like Marilyn Lake, who at 80 has made so much change in her way of life in the last 4 months. We want to certify her and hundreds of other people who've done this now for 15 years, because the knowledge that Marilyn brings is not from any book. It comes from our own experience of life, and we don't have the tools to measure that knowledge that she has. But definitely, if she can go and tell the world how to be a little more healthy, that will definitely be so valuable for not only our family and our community, but for the broader world that she can reach. So I cannot thank enough all my collaborators in various fields, including psychiatry and positive psychology and Siddha medicine from India and artificial engineering. But I would like to thank so many of my friends and patients who have shown that this system is holistic, integrative, and can really reverse so many of the chronic problems, including heart failure. So as I thank you, I want to leave you with this thought that our program involves altruism, compassion. Why do we have that? Because when we are a little more altruistic, when we give a little more of our time and our energy and our financial resources, we are doing good. But when we are giving out of our own meal, couple of meals a week, if we can forego and use that money to directly give it to food bank or your local community organization, then that is direct empowerment of your own circle, and that is going to give you the confidence to move so much forward into the future and so much deeper into your inner nature. Same thing with plant-based food that's so healthy for the environment at the same time. And our hunger gratitude experience is a direct way of self-inquiry, which you can continue with your flow-inducing exercises. And your mind is a significant portion, along with your subconscious and your body, towards experiencing life to its fullest. So we can improve our longevity, but more than that, our vitality and our flourishing all through our life, we can stay healthy. That is the health span that we are focusing on. Thanks so much. We can open it up for questions and discussions.
And Dr. Chakalingam, we have quite a few questions and comments in the chat.
Oh, okay. So in that case, let me go to that. Wow, there are a lot of, I had to go back all the way. I usually take that we have done. That was Marilyn's comment about peanut butter. These slides are going by pretty quickly. Did you say they are available on your website? These are available at Osher, all these slides, but the actual recording, I don't know if Osher posts these videos also, but at High Life Journey, we will post all of these videos in the next couple of weeks. And we'll want to make all this knowledge available simultaneously to everyone. Yes, Osher will have the slides. Okay, excellent. Dr. Chakalingam has shared the slides with me. I will put them on. Yes, Heidi is saying that. What do Ssbs and sugar substitutes do to the body? These are most important things to recognize. I'm so glad you asked that question. Why are they bad for us? Is honey bad? How do these sweeteners affect us? So glad you brought this question. Sugar, when you substitute into anything, it is hurting us. Sugar is present. Carbohydrate and sugar are not the same. Carbohydrate means, see, banana is carbohydrate. Apple is carbohydrate. Spinach has carbohydrate. That is not the same as soda or Gatorade or energy drink or even the apple juice or orange juice, which is sugar added. When you add sugar to anything, very, very likely your body does not need it. The only instance when we may need it is when we are dehydrated and running an 8-hour marathon, when it's okay to have an energy drink with sugar in it. But even the same Olympic athlete, a marathon runner or bicyclist who bikes for 5 days, but after that, when he's sitting at home and watching television, the energy drink is not helping him. Does it make sense? Because sugar is not nutrition. It only ends up making us heavier and makes us predisposed for diabetes. And then you may say cholesterol is a different thing. It comes from fat. No, the same sugar, the body, it stores it, and it might also increase our triglycerides and cholesterol levels. So if we can make the sugar, there is a certain amount of allowed sugar. Even that I would like to minimize. See, we are not talking about nutrition guidelines. We are talking about reversing biological age. So if we want to do that for ourselves, the simplest thing that I've done, I'll tell you, since the I lived at home since till 1997. After that, I came to the United States. Since 97 summer, I've been in the US, and I don't have sugar at home for what, 20, 30 years now. So that's my reality. So there's no sugar at home to add. Make sense? So sugar adding is not good. Then there's high fructose corn syrup that's there in a lot of processed food. Look out for that in the food label. And if it's there, think if you really, really need those foods, packaged foods, if they have sugar added, really stay away from them. Okay? There's no nutritive value. It's only hurting us. It's not the same as having carbohydrates, which is healthy for you. Okay. How does the paleo meat-based ketosis affect the heart as a weight loss diet? They eat beef, butter, and bacon and lose weight rapidly. How does that work? This is an excellent question. There are a lot of universities which are very reputable where people are promoting keto diet, the paleo diet. And what that is cutting out on carbohydrates so low that you have to have something, right? That something ends up being predominantly fat, 60-70% fat and 20-30% protein. And the way people are losing weight in that diet is because they've cut out one of the biggest challenges, which is sugar added substances, the drinks and the cookies, donuts, ice cream. They are cutting out on that. So that way they are losing weight. But I am a cardiologist. My first interest, I thought, was the heart. But the reality is my first interest from this session onwards is your biological age, is my biological age, right? That is very direct, our longevity. So for that, cutting out the sugars, we already discussed, is important. But equally important is cutting back on processed and red meat. Equally important. So when we do that, we are not going to be left with oils. We are not going to be left with meat. Then what are we really left with? We cannot just breathe air and survive, right? So then we have to go back further in time. The paleo diet claims that this is how man was built, to hunt and to gather and to eat meat. I went back even further. This history goes back only 200,000 years. The human history is only 200,000 years. I went back several million years into our science that looks at our friends and cousins, the monkeys, and they are predominantly plant-based. Our gut is predominantly plant-based. It's not based on meat. Meat is something we started consuming in the last 100,000 years only for convenience. Because we were starting to live in more extreme temperatures, the meat allowed us to survive. But if we have the choice, which now in the last few hundred years, technology has evolved so much that we can choose to eat whichever food we want, then humans lived only 40 years when we are doing the paleo diet. If we want to live 80 or 90 or 110 years, which we have never lived as a society, then the best diet ends up being, once again, predominantly plant-based. You enjoy every meat in the world. You don't have to call yourself vegan or plant-based or vegetarian or anything. Cutting down on dairy also is important to reduce inflammation, especially for people from India, because there are so many vegetarians in India who end up with heart attack in their 30s and 40s. So for them, inflammation comes in the form of dairy products and sugar that is added in the sweets and desserts that India has developed over thousands of years. People are just having too much of that sweet tooth. So summary is, the healthiest food is not the keto diet, especially if you have heart issues or vascular problems. And you might lose some weight with the keto diet, but weight loss is not our goal. Our goal is vitality, energy, feeling confident, moving through all our life with maximal, optimal health. For that, the best diet may be predominantly plant-based whole food. And the high life diet is zero food intake, right? If we have excess weight in our body, that is what we are embracing wholeheartedly and finding it works. And that also is not sustainable. That's called intermittent fasting. That's why we have the smiling added to it, the gratitude, which is the foundation of what we are requesting people to embrace. Today, I met somebody who said, I love my meat. I don't do too well with the plant-based options you suggest, but I embrace the being hungry. So for them, that is perfectly fine. Everybody may not do well with a plant-based diet. So everybody has to find what works for them. But being a little hungry works for everybody. So in that, try to build whatever more plant-based options that you can as you move forward. Okay? So we want to know keto diet so that we can avoid it. We want natural ketosis. That's the key thing. And that natural ketosis does not require any particular diet, but the diet we request is the plant-based for the most part. What is AMI? Acute myocardial infarction, acute decompensated heart failure. So heart attack and heart failure is what I'm trained to treat and improve lifespan. But health span, I'm not trained from my medical school days. I'm learning it from data that comes from 5,000-year-old Siddha integrative medical methods and their Siddha consciousness techniques. And then I'm learning it from positive psychology. I'm learning it from resilience data that's coming from numerous animal experiments and life science experiments. And I'm also learning it from biological aging tools. Only in the last 5 to 10 years, we have these blood tests and other tools to measure the actual aging of our genes. So that data is very clearly saying, for instance, no alcohol is the best. Till then, the data was saying a little bit of resveratrol that you get with the red wine is maybe helping you. Biological aging data says no alcohol is best. So in 10 years from today, science will be more confident about everything that we say. But what I'm finding is for thousands of years, people have shown that you can live 100 years healthily. We can use that data from ancient Siddha yoga methods, and we can use the data from blue zones in Costa Rica and Loma Linda and Okinawa in Japan, which are all so far apart in culture and language and everything, but they are all living 100 years. And these same plant-based food and holistic living is what's making them live 100 years as a society. Okay? I am generally in good health at age 72. I have never seen a medical specialist for anything. So why don't we all give a big hand for that? But my knees and shoulders are still wearing out, and I am nearly 4 inches shorter than I used to be. Losing height is something that we all experience from the age of 40. That's just part of nature. Anything to be done about losing cartilage and joints going bad? I haven't spent specifically time on this question, honestly. But why I feel the same holistic methods would work is because when we engage our body the right way, when we are having fun with exercise, I love, for instance, playing tennis. That I believe is the best way for me to physically stay strong. I go to the orthopedician because I have neck pain and low back issues from the age of 20. I guess I got it from my genes. I don't know. But my doctor did an MRI 10, 12 years later and said it's not changed. So I want you to keep playing tennis if that's fun for you. That's what he told me. So like that, what I'm requesting you is to do things with your mind and your body that's so fun for you, that's meaningful, where your heart rate goes up and you're enjoying that sport or exercise or whatever. Beyond that, is there anything specific? Some supplements, there are numerous supplements. I honestly don't use any of them, and I've not recommended any. So that's my own personal experience. Okay. But there may be some value in some of them. What chemicals do doctors use to perform a chemical stress test on the heart? Okay. We have some chemicals that increase the blood circulation in the heart, and then we have some other chemicals that increase the work of the heart. So when we do this safely under monitoring circumstances, we're able to see if the heart is getting enough blood. And if it is not, then we'll know which part of the heart, which artery may be blocked, and then we can go after fixing it. So that's the chemical stress test. And if we can get on the treadmill, that gives us more data. But for some people, they need a chemical stress test. For them, we get nearly as good data with the chemicals. Is it $4 for one meal for one person or a family at home? It's for one meal, roughly. Is that it's just overall average cost of a meal. So I don't know how they broke it up in the, I just pulled it up from the internet, that data somebody had done that math to figure that out. You might tell me that you can do much better, healthier food at lesser cost. What is endothelial health? Endothelium, how do cortisol, adrenal affect the body and the heart? Okay. Endothelium is the lining of all the blood vessels. So throughout the body, the blood is taking energy to all the cells in the body, and that blood vessels are lined by this endothelial layer that dilates and constricts, responding to the sympathetic activation. The sympathetic activation is the stress hormones, fight and flight reaction. If there is a tiger chasing me, I'll be running, right? That is the sympathetic activation. The cortisol is also a stress hormone. Every day, if I think somebody is going to say my boss is going to fire me, or somebody is out there to hurt me, or do something bad to me, that stress itself is like the tiger chasing me. So the cortisol levels may be running high because of perceived or subjective stress. So that is what we want to control intuitively through our holistic methods. So when we control that, the heart rate comes down, the parasympathetic tone goes up, and the blood pressure comes down. And this is manifest in endothelial function. There are certain tools to measure endothelial vasoreactivity. We don't do it in clinical practice, but in research settings, there are tools to measure and improve it. For Marilyn, who we know for the last 4 weeks, if we had done endothelial function 6 months ago, it would have been pretty challenged because of her heart not doing great, and she had heart failure on medicines, and she could barely breathe walking from one room to 2 or 3 rooms further down in her own home, and she was using a walker. But 6 months later, she's now so smiling and she's so confident talking to us about consciousness. So this is a very different Marilyn now. So for her, if we measure an endothelial function, it will be very close to a 60-year-old healthy person, not an 80-year-old. So that is the change that her body has done, her mind has facilitated, and the transformation we can measure in endothelial function, cortisol level, or if she were to give some saliva or blood sample, we can measure in the DNA itself how the epi-age clock has shown. So all of this will be moving in the right direction. Okay. I have only found one GP that practices holistic medicine in Colombia. Is this changing? Yes, many people are practicing this because they are finding that all their pills and all the other subspecialists put together are not helping their patients thrive. We are only making our communities sicker. Our intention is not that. We are trained in trying to help people, but all our pills and procedures cannot fix lifestyle. The pills and procedures are meant to fix a genetic problem or a molecular issue or some weakness in the heart that comes from a heart attack or something. But how can a pill or a procedure fix societal transformation? Society is just not having to work as hard physically for food anymore. Only 3 or 4 generations ago, society had to spend so much time in their garden, in their farm, growing the food that they needed to survive. Now we are dealing with social media that's affecting our day-to-day living. And most people are working out of their computer. They are not actually spending physical time outdoors. So society is transforming in numerous ways. And for India, I showed you, obesity is costing 20 billion. It's going to go to $500 billion in the next 40 years. What is happening in India that we cannot stop in the next 40 years? The real change in India is becoming more economically stronger. People are having more money to spend. So why are they getting obese? That is the challenge. People are spending it on health. That is the choices we are making. So that is the real world challenge that has already happened in the US, that's happening very rapidly in India and throughout the world. Okay. So the practice is also changing because lifestyle medicine, I became a member of that society this year, American College of Lifestyle Medicine. 10 years ago, it wasn't even around. More and more doctors are taking up training in lifestyle medicine that teaches about exercise and diet and other things, so that endocrinologists, cardiologists, neurologists, we can all be more enabled and empowered to teach the lifestyle that our society needs towards health. So all these things are happening simultaneously, but it just has to happen so much faster for us to regain our health. That's why in my part, I want to certify people in high life. So 3 months from today, if you reach out to me and say, Anand, I attended your program. I am happier now because I'm smiling more. I'm eating right. My blood pressure is better. Will you give me certification? I'll be so happy to say that. Okay, I'm working on creating the circumstances, the organizational support for us to validate what you are doing experientially. And you already attended 4 weeks of High Life. We called it biological aging, but this is what is the summary of the 8-week program that we've had for the last 10 years. Okay. So this is what we want to empower the individual and their families towards health. Could you address genetic cardiomyopathy? My daughter and I have a cardiomyopathy. FLNC means familial, I guess, non-compaction. Is that what it is? Anyway, genetic cardiomyopathies are actually, we thought 10%. Now we are at close to 40, maybe even 50%. That means out of 10 people that I see with a weak heart, half of them may have family with weaker hearts also. So what it could mean is it is inevitable. But there are so many things we can do as doctors to help your heart do better. And you, as the individual dealing with that, holistic methods that you can do, what you learned in this High Life series, all these things might help you if you have excess weight towards getting to the ideal weight and towards reducing the sympathetic stress and helping the weaker heart work for you for 100 years. There are so many people with weak hearts living long, healthy lives. So that might be the benefit that you can gain through the integrative methods and talking to your doctors about the optimal medicines. And as far as the familial component, tell your children and your cousins and your family that you have a familial cardiomyopathy so that they can get their hearts checked out periodically to capture this at the earliest possible and give the appropriate therapies. We have another 5 more minutes left. If anyone would like to unmute yourself and quick discussions. People who haven't spoken so far. This was one of the most amazing 4-week series that we've had. And we don't usually, even in 8 hours of Heartful Living, we don't get enough time to talk about altruism. The reason I showed that information to you is because that is direct power. When you go give it to the local food bank as your own, it's not your discretionary money. This is money that would have paid for the food that you prepare at home, and that food you're not eating, you're saving $10 and giving it in the food bank. That's feeding so many people. So that is the direct power that comes from your practice of heartful living. So try it, give it a shot. It might help you. You might find that where you want to be in your weight, you get there at double the speed because you are empowering your community while you're empowering yourself also. So any other quick suggestions, thoughts, questions? People who haven't spoken so far. We have many people who didn't talk yet. Anyone wishes to unmute?
Anand.
Hello, Dad. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, very nice. I came just now. And just 1 minute comment. Can I do?
Please, people love to hear you talk.
Very good. I mean, I really appreciate every one of you, dear friends. And what Anand has been telling, which everyone should follow, which I am now following. I'm his father, Dr. Chokkalingam. I am now nearing 80 years old. But I feel I am younger than my son Anand Chokkalingam biologically. Why I'm making this comment is a very important thing. What he has been stressing all the time is be happy. If you are going to be happy, you ought to become healthy. And if you want to be happy, please remember, most important basement for the happiness is self-realization. We must realize what you are. That's what our wisdom. And with the self-realization, you must be have peace of mind. Once you become peace of mind, you become happiness. That's what he has been telling, keep smiling all the time because it produces enormous positive hormones. So the mindset will produce enormous positive hormones. And at the texture, that oxidative stress will be very much reduced. The aging process first retarded, and then what Anand says, it can be reversed biologically. So biological clock, I used to say recently in a meeting, chronological clock, we cannot touch even a second in that. Biological clock, we can make it forward, it becomes negative. And biological clock, you can reverse it, is a positive attitude. So please accept what you cannot change, courage to change the things you can, wisdom to know the difference. And I want to stress another important point in the August audience. If anyone is having 95% block in the blood vessel, even biological age reversing, please understand with the modalities what Anand has been telling, we can reverse the atherosclerosis by 1 year or 15 months. I don't know whether you have stressed already. If you are going to follow what Anand is telling from today for 9 years, the genetic mutation to positivity occurs. What I mean by it, the genes that carrying all the diseases are epigenes or phenotypes. It is vulnerable to change your mindset and lifestyle. Thereby, it will become anything that has been carrying diseases like diabetes, hypertension, cancer, whatever thing. But by 9 years, you'll get mutated to positivity because the genes are phenotypes or epigenes. In this texture, I want to stress one more point. If anyone has born with a good parents and your genes are normal today, if you become a negative lifestyle and attitude from 9 years, all diseases like sugar, pressure, and even the tendency for cancer, heart, everything will come by 9 years. So please make that when you are biologically reversing, not only you are going to feel younger, you can escape from all killing diseases. And I really appreciate Anand's commitment. Please remember that success is not happiness. Happiness is greatest success. So in short, life is a calculation. As you see in the mobile phone, anything, world has become a small village. And what you see in the calculator, that is a life. To conclude, add positive things, deduct negative things, multiply your knowledge, divide your time, and live in balance. All the things will get reversed, and it will stress that oxidative stress will be nullified, and we can live a healthy and create a worldwide healthy and wealthy population. Thank you, Anand, for this time. I really appreciate your commitment for everything. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Dad, for covering very important things. I did not spend much time on oxidative stress or reversing atherosclerosis. All these are so important aspects. And then our genetic risk also, after few years of living healthy, even the epigenetic manifestation changes so well. So thanks for bringing out all these very, very valuable aspects of biological course. So we need 4 more weeks for that to cover his concepts. But thanks for summarizing it so beautifully in 2 minutes. Any other quick parting thoughts? We are already at 11 o'clock. I cannot thank this group enough. I cannot thank Heidi and Jennifer for giving me this opportunity. Such an amazing group that I'm thoroughly enjoying.
I hope that you're seeing the chats, Dr. Chakalingam. People really appreciate you and your expertise, your willingness to share this knowledge with us. And so we really do appreciate you.
Thanks.
And
so
Yana,
much.
thank you very much, Yana, for helping today. Appreciate your help too.
Keep smiling, Yana. Wonderful meeting you all. I'll see you back through Osher very soon.
Thank you,
Good
Dr.
luck to
Chakalingam.
everyone. Have a
Yes.
wonderful fall. Bye-bye.
Thank you, you too. Bye-bye.